kilometers per hour. And only this diesel is combined with a four-wheel drive.
So setting off here in the 2023 Integra. So the first thing you notice about this, well, you have a really nice slow
starting with the big one, with the A7 and German Autobahn test. We put it here to the dynamic mode. After the air suspension, it lowers down, sporty mode, also goes in the S shifting mode. For sportier shifting, putting up the gears then, higher RPM and starting from 40 kilometers an hour on the motorway. Let's go. Close to 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, really stable, nice acceleration from the 3-liter 6-cylinder engine, and also lane changing here when the air suspension is set on the stiffer node, really nice. Also good noise insulation here at higher speeds. Awesome traveling vehicle. It's one of the best vehicles for the motorway overall, and I really don't need an A8 or an S-Class for that. This one already delivers you all the kinds of comfort. At the same time, the seats comfortable but sporty, great seat ergonomics indeed, and wow, it feels so sophisticated here. That is also one of the major differences than A7 versus A5. Both, we already heard that, are awesome vehicles, no doubt. But here the bigger one, just a little bit more mass, more wheelbase, it just brings this kind of sophistication to the ride. A little bit more calmness, a little bit more sophistication. You feel a little more, let's say, settled in a way, and especially then when we go back here to the normal shifting mode. Yeah, user interface, better in the A5, a little bit more classic. Still here for the touchscreen solutions, also lower part with the climate unit and so on. One of the best climate solutions that is not still classic, you know. So you can control it still very well, although it is here this touchscreen for that kind of stuff. Here also you see some of the ambient lighting here in the lower part, especially. That is beautifully done here. Really like that. And also here in the tunnel, you hear how silent the vehicle is. Really, really awesome. It brings me, you know, that feeling of I can drive hours and hours and hours without any back pain, without caring about that. I just love this vehicle. It's one, driving wise, it's definitely one of my favorite vehicles overall. And as I said earlier, also this combination of, you have the great design, yet the great flexibility, practicability with that head, yeah, this fastback trunk, that's called that way. Cruise control is set here on the lower part. Also here with the active lane keeping assist, very well done. All the assistance systems work flawlessly. And even if you're on the auto mode and the air suspension is not being lowered down, it gives a very good compromise of sportiness and comfort. It doesn't lean too much to the corners here, getting off the motorway. Nice feeling from the brakes here, the right and the left S-turn. It is a large vehicle, but at the same time it feels so agile and nice to ride. Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite rides overall together. Also, you know, with the BMW 5 Series, because they both have this, I would really say, perfect combination of sportiness and comfort. You know, you have no compromise on sportiness and no compromise on comfort. Maybe the only compromise on sportiness is the weight, because the A5, we will soon see it, it will feel a little bit sportier because it's just lighter, you know, and the smaller wheelbase helps in the winding corners. This is more about motorway. We'll soon have another acceleration, and then we'll get to some winding corners where we can also gather some experience here with the A7 and then compare it to the A5. Look at that, steering also with a very direct input, and 90-degree steering often means also 90 degrees turn. I love that. The progressive setup they have here from Audi is just flawless. From the steering input, the steering feeling, at this moment here, A5, A7, also one of my favorite vehicles. They have, it's not that you have to have too much power. At the same time, it has this progressive style. You don't have to turn it all the way in. You can always keep both hands on the steering wheel. That's totally fine. With these driving modes, it also changes a little bit what feedback you get, by the way. Overview, so actually also quite decent. Can't complain about that, although it's so design focused. Just the B pillar here is very thick. Therefore, you do need the blind spot monitor. And that is so well integrated into that mirror, and this blind spot solution here is also the best we know actually. So that's really, really cool. As for the fuel economy, when you're not speeding it up like I do, but rather calm driving, cruise control and so on, the minimum you can actually get is some 9 liters, 1 kilometers, 26 mpg US, 31 mpg UK. A more realistic figure, also with some city traffic, a little bit more speed, is then rather like 10 liters on 1 kilometers, 23 mpg US or 28 mpg UK. Interesting that this will not differ that much if you have this segment here or the one below that. It's more about how you drive it. So with an A5 with a 3-liter petrol engine, you consume more or less the same amount of fuel. It's just really a question of calm driving and cruise control, more city traffic, stop and go, flooring it out. That is the main difference then, and not if it's now like a little bit heavier or not. I really love this engine. It's, to me, the best engine that is in the Audi lineup. We can also get it in the S5, not in the A5, in the S5, still in the US for the Sportback and the Coupe.
The time is 2:12
And
a.m.
in Germany, for example, Europe, only the S5 petrol in the convertible. That's left. And now S7 and also S5 in Germany, both diesel. Come on, seriously? So I have to go for this one here. You can also just go to the S shifting mode here for an acceleration, then go from 90 kilometers an hour. Nice sonorous sound, not too much, not accelerated. 150 already. And now here in this, I always call it like a Nürburgring Nordschleife-like corner. Really awesome how nice it gets into this long corner, how settled the car is on the ground. And once again, how silent it is, although I'm at really, really high speeds. Once again, 180 kilometers an hour, so yeah, around 150, 120 miles an hour. This is just a flawless job, and this is one of the Autobahn cars, definitely. I just love that, and it feels so flawless to drive that one. At the same time, you can also go back into normal D mode, so you don't always have to switch the driving modes. Sometimes just when you want to do overtaking maneuver, you pull back the shifting lever and you just concentrate on that faster shifting and leave everything else as it is. What I tend to do when I drive a car for a very long time, or when I own such a vehicle, then I'll put in the drive select the individual mode, and for example, put the suspension, for example, on comfortable, but the steering on dynamic. So that way I have most comfort from suspension, but the steering gives me a little bit more feedback and feels more dynamic. I really like this setup, you know, and maybe the drive system unbalanced also. This is a nice individual setup that kind of combines a little bit sporty feeling from the input here, from the steering, at the same time comfortable suspension, and maybe then the engine not too exaggerated but also not too slow. You know, like when you're only in the efficiency mode, car feels maybe a little bit less sporty and disconnected. In just in dynamic mode, you know, might be a little bit too much then at times. So this individual mode is to me then a nice compromise you can set then for yourself. It's good that you can also individualize that actually. Well, now what about winding corners? Because that will be very crucial in describing the difference once again between A7 and A5. Alright, once again we go to the dynamic mode. Stiffer suspension and now also uneven road, but that air suspension even in dynamic mode does a good job. So this is something the A8 has as advantage, you can get the air suspension version to the S or A5. So that gives you more comfort in general. And here now the winding corners. We have still the classic quattro here with the 3-liter engine. That means rear wheel bias. To me, it will also be very important. They don't have understeering and so on. And I really have to say once again, although it's a heavy vehicle, it feels really sporty and nice in the corners. Acceleration out is super cool. And once again, that great steering characteristic. This feels so smooth and flawless. So this is one of the vehicles, and I already did that like 2013 with the RS7, hitting a lot of different alpine passes in the mountains. And although it's a big and heavy vehicle and you can put a lot of passengers and luggage in it, it is one that you can have so much fun with, even in those alpine passes. Yeah, these serpentine roads, really awesome. Yeah, once again, it's one of my favorite vehicles, also driving-wise. Just so sad that in the US especially you can only get it with animal skin leather seats. I hope they change it at some point. But in the UK, as I said, you can also get the seats as I'm sitting on for the A7, not for the A5, strangely. Well, but now even more interesting is, will the A5 be enough? Although it's, depending on the configuration, 25 to 40,000 euros or dollars less expensive, will it deliver the same comfort? How much sportier is it? Which one would I take home? This is going to be really, really tough. Alright, now to the Audi A5 Sportback. It's very super interesting. We'll also put it here to the dynamic mode and also the S-shifting mode for more boosting up the RPM. We also go back to 40 kilometers an hour here with the 2-liter engine. You can also get the 3-liter engine, but here just to give you a feeling for this one here, this engine will be mostly picked by most A5 customers. Let's go. $150. Now, of course, it takes a little bit more time. And here 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Also a good acceleration, and as I said, you can also get the 3-liter V6 for this one here in the S5, but petrol only in the US now anymore, not in Europe. That's the thing. That's why also the reason why we had to pick the 2-liter engine, and for this one here, the S5 would have been a diesel than in Europe. And so this one, you know, made more sense here. Good acceleration not only, but also here great stability at the motorway. Good noise cancellation as well, but a little bit louder than in the A7. The A7 a little bit more sophisticated as for the noise insulation, as for the whole driving feeling. And very interesting, with the A7 we had the rear axle steering, and that gives us the combination of agility at low speeds and stability at higher speeds. So the difference between the bigger and the smaller car is actually less, or not that large, because of the rear axle steering we have mounted in the A7. That is a crucial factor and also helps with easing around. However, one of the biggest advantages of the A5 still is, of course, that it's just shorter when you're in a narrow basement garage or when you live in a city which has narrow situations, narrow streets. There you just have the advantage of a shorter vehicle with the A5. That's, of course, a crucial thing. If you don't have that problem, you know, like the US West Coast, you have a lot of open space anyway, then you can easily go for the A7 as for this aspect. The A5 here also already delivers good comfort, is also a good motorway vehicle. I really feel at home here also on the German Autobahn. The seats of the A7 gives us a little bit more comfort, but the difference is not that large. It's just, again, the A7 that it gives you some more sophistication and calmness in the ride. But the A5 Sportback is for this segment already very elaborated. And the funny thing is, when you really ask me, C-Class versus E-Class, E-Class it is for me. BMW 3 Series versus 5 Series. 5 Series it is, no doubt. because they just give me so much more comfort that it would make sense for me rather go low spec 5 Series than high spec 3 Series. Here with the A5 and the A7, I really have to think twice because some things speak for the A5, price of course, and the size, as for, you know, narrow cities and so on. But then again, many things speak for the A7, you know, that you can get the rear axle steering, that you can get air suspension, and you have more, let's say, combination of sportiness and comfort. You get both indeed. Yeah, but acceleration here was also good, will be even better of course than in the S5, especially when you get the petrol variants. Yeah, too bad we can only get it in the convertible S5 than here in Europe anymore. That's the thing. And the same also for the S7 way, which is also coming as diesel here in Germany now. It's like really? And then you have to go back for the A7 to pick the 3-liter V6? Really, Audi? I don't get it. User interface while driving, a little better here because we still have the nice Audi Climate Unity and also this hard button style here in the lower part where you can select the driving modes. You don't even have to use the touchscreen then for that. You can click it right through. Also nice clicking sounds. So user interface a little bit more classic, simpler here in the A5. Then the price difference is rising from not only 25k euros or dollars to about like 40,000 euros or dollars. And then you start thinking, of course, that this one here, I mean, we already know that this one here, the A5 Sportback, makes more sense in a price performance way. You know, that is quite clear. But overall, and also especially if price makes no difference, it's really, really tough to decide. Soon we'll have the winding corner section again, where we then can feel, is the A5 really that much more agile in these narrow corners? We'll soon experience that. First of all, one more time here with the cruise control and assistance systems. Here, reduce speed, and then also cruise control set with a separate column. It's such a great thing to always be able to easily activate and deactivate the lane keeping assist. Here, for example, maybe this is a boring tunnel part. I want to relax a little bit more and let the car do its thing. You know, then the car is being kept in the lane easier. But then when now the fast motorway part is arriving and these agile corners later on, I want to control the car myself, and just one click and the lane keeping assist is deactivated, whereas with other cars you sometimes have to go deep in the menu and it's so complicated. Easily done here. And once again, I can also just put back the shifting lever, then I'm in the S shifting mode and I already can tune up the RPMs for another good acceleration from 90 kilometers an hour. Yeah, and this engine has enough power, no doubt. It's just that the 6-cylinder feels more sonorous from the sound and a little bit more sophisticated, and consumption difference is not that large actually. Here now, winding corner, just slide bend, Nürburgring Nordschleife bend I always call it because it's high speed. Wow, it also feels so great on the motorway. Really feels at home here. Very calm and collected. The lane changes are no problem even at high speeds. This is also awesome. Definitely what a flawless driving experience here as well with the Audi A5. So as for this fuel economy aspect, some 8 liters or more kilometers are easily possible. Yeah, some something 30 mpg, but the difference is really not that large between the 2-liter and the 3-liter engine. That's always what I've been saying quite a lot of times, is these tuned smaller engines are not more efficient than the bigger engines. So you won't consume much more fuel with a 3-liter V6 than you do with a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. That is also a very interesting finding. So yeah, especially our friends in the US get the S5 with the 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol than if you're buying an A5. Of course, yeah. Will the A5 there really be so much sportier than the A7? Or has that rear axle steering so much effect and the weight? How will that turn out? Now the A5 in winding corners, dynamic mode. We have the normal adaptive suspension here without air, but that also adapts, then gets a little bit stiffer here now. And without air suspension, it's definitely rougher. Although we have 18-inch wheels, so smaller wheels mounted, 20-inch it was with the A7. But definitely rougher here to that surface. Quite okay.